All right, so here we go with something really different. Jason, you know this guy. Can you fill us in on this?
Yeah, so this was actually really interesting to see. Um, so Daniel has been doing what is called a future relic, and it isn't noted here, but this falls right in line with the future relics. And the idea behind the future relics, I think in 2013, the first one was released as an edition piece, right? Like one that you could access outside of a gallery and not paying tens of thousands of dollars for. It was through Oh Wow, and it was a cellular phone, one of the original thicker, what we joke around and call like a Zach Morris phone. So that was the Future Relic 1. So the idea is that you have these modern day technologies. Yeah, right here. So that's Future Relic 1. So it's these sort of modern day technologies that if somebody was to sort of unearth them sometime in the future, this is basically what you'd get. And they're interesting because they're basically like crystallized. So they make them primarily these ones. There's ones made of like volcanic ash, and there's different tiers where you can get like, for example, the keyboard that was done off of Pharrell keyboard. Um, and I think it's Casio if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's definitely Casio. Looking at the square buttons, if anybody remembers when they were younger, the orange hexagonal pads. But so there's this one which is gypsum salt and quartz. This is the editioned one, and then the volcanic ash one, etc. But again, they're called future relics.
So Jason, they're not styrofoam.
They're not styrofoam. No,
Got
these
it.
things are heavy. Like the
Okay.
boombox and the what's it called, the keyboard. I mean, they're 1-to-1 scale, and they got some
Okay.
weight. Like this thing is like, ooh, yeah, it's more than a few pounds.
40 pounds.
But he's done a lot of interesting collaborations recently, and there's some furniture things, and he has another company called Snarkitecture where they do a lot of architectural things, which are really done creatively. But this whole future relic aspect, they have a crystallized one too. Yeah, so here's the set minus the boombox and the keyboard. So these were released, I think, about a year and a half apart from each other. They coincided with like a short film, each one. There was a backstory to each one. And then once you finish collecting the entire set, because I had started collecting these early on when the first one was
Collect them
released.
all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, collect them all, yeah. You were able to get basically like a booklet, like a sort of archaeologist's booklet. That picture down on the far right-hand side, yeah, that's the entire set right there. And then there was some few variations. Like there was a second camera that was done. There was another cassette that was done in collaboration with Nas to celebrate the anniversary of Illmatic, which is an amazing album. But with all that being said, seeing this little teaser with C-3PO, and there's a one-off R2-D2 that I posted on one of the threads. I forget which one. That was a one-off that they made at the studio. I don't know if that's going to be released. But the C-3PO looks like it's going to be not 1-1 scale, but a full C-3PO from the whole body of it. I'd say it probably might be around like 12, 13 inches, because he has done, not my cup of tea, and I get nothing against it, but he has done some of the Pokemon, both card format and the actual characters. So it's interesting to see this for two reasons. One, edition size. The edition of the future relics are usually kept pretty low, and they're not, I wouldn't say unaccessible, but they're not necessarily like for an entry level collector. They're a few of them. I mean, if you buy the set now, it's like 50 grand. So not the
Oh
cheapest.
my god! How much did they originally retail for, Jason?
Depends on the piece, right? Like the cassette, for example, I think was maybe 500, where like the boombox or the keyboard are a couple thousand. So you're looking at a couple thousand for most pieces. So I'd be interested to see what the edition size and the prices on this, because one, it's Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Two, it's very aesthetically appealing, especially if it has the compressed sort of gypsum and quartz build as the other future relics. So I just think overall aesthetically, this is going to be a beautiful piece. He's done like Andy Warhol's the Brillo box. He's done a couple of Porsche pieces. He's even done the anniversary of Disney, where he has the Mickey Mouse, where it's like the blanket is sort of flowing over him, so it's kind of like this inverted sort of ghost, if you would. But I'm really excited to see this piece and to see something like this be brought to the masses. you usually don't have like a lot of contemporary artists like Cause or Daniel being brought to Star Wars or to the masses for people to purchase from their collections.
Like you said, Jason, it'll be really interesting to see what they price this at, because that's going to make a big difference as to, because I mean, I could be wrong. This is an assumption, but I don't think a lot of us collectors are necessarily into art collecting either. Right?
Correct.
It's not. I don't think it's like a hand in hand type of thing, and so the prices of art collecting is I think, quite different than collecting. Not always, but it's quite a bit higher, I would imagine. So.
You said this is a 1-to-1?
No, it's not a 1-to-1. I'm sorry.
Okay,
the other pieces, like when we look at the other relics, from the cassette to the boombox, those are all 1-to-1 scale. So this would probably be like, maybe I would assume anywhere from like 10 to 14 inches, basing off of some of the other figure style pieces that I have. Those are all like in the 12-inch range.
Okay.
But it looks like a full.
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I debated just looking at the Pokemon line and seeing if that can give me kind of an idea of what the pricing would be on this. Just assume that this would be higher because it's Star Wars, based on the license.
So,
yeah,
it's an interesting piece. I don't see how it would fit into a whole lot of collections. I think that's what Matt was.
Yeah.
Kind of where Matt was coming from as well.
Yeah.
That's why I think it'd be interesting to see the how many, like what the edition size is.
I do think though this is a type of piece that could fit where other pieces couldn't. Like you could, like putting a hot toy in an entryway when you come into a house or something like that doesn't make any sense. But putting something that's like very tasteful, like art like this, like all white, has like, you could put that into places you can't put other collectibles. So
this has a very contemporary feel.
Yeah.
Putting a quarter scale Predator statue right above your door when you come in.
Yeah, no one would do that. No one would do
that. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can feel when you fill these and handle them, like the way they're packaged, they're beautifully well done. They come with a pair of gloves because obviously you don't want the oils from your hands to seep in because it'll apply to it almost instantly. So it usually comes with a pair of white gloves for you to take out and handle, but they're beautifully made. They're very well done, but it is a very interesting crossover. Cause did a crossover collab with Lucasfilm where he did the Boba Fett, Stormtrooper, and Vader. The thing is they were more toy-like. They were more, I'll use the term toyetic, the whole Kenner thing, but they had a toy feel to them, so they were a little bit more acceptable, and you can kind of put them in any display, and they would fit in, where this, I agree with what Matt said, stands out a little bit more. They do actually put, it's quartz. I mean, it's not the highest quality, but they do actually put quartz crystals. So the larger shards may not be, but when you see it in hand and you see it in light, and those like indentures there that are like broken up, you'll see little parts of quartz and gypsum salt and things like that, and hydrocal that are all like visible to the eye as you like kind of turn it in the light.
Neat.
Yeah, this is a really interesting collaboration. The Pokemon thing that he did wasn't a collaboration, which is something that he released directly out of the studio. And you have a lot of fans of Pokemon and art, so like
I'm kind of more interested in those pieces than the Star Wars crossover.
The Pokemon, huh?
No, not the Pokemon.
The
original ones. Yeah, like the Polaroid camera and the
the regular relics are amazing. And then after the ninth one, where it's finished off in the series, there was another where they did Crystal, and there was like I started off with like a Yankees hat. There was a Game Boy and a couple other pieces, but yeah, one of the ones I have outside of the edition is I have one of the Volcanic Ash keyboards, and I also have a guitar that was done. And then recently they just Rimawa, the luggage company, they did a turntable, which obviously because of what I do, added the turntable, which is a beautiful piece. I mean,
look at the crystals on this one, Jason. This really shows off how realistic the crystals look.
That looks like
this you can really see.
Lepidolite.
Yep.
Huh.
The blue.
Very cool.
Very different.
And then there's some where they do actual like bronze pieces, like you can see. I don't know the names of the Pokemon.
The
characters.
Charizard right there.
Yeah.
Charizard, yeah, some bronze ones.
This one?
Oh, that's the Eevee. The dragon one that was a little bit higher than that was a Charizard.
Yeah,
Guys are
right.
speaking a different language. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
That's a bronze version.
Okay, interesting.
Now these are out of reach. The bronze ones, I mean, I don't know about this one in particular, but a lot of the bronze pieces, even the edition ones of 100 or 200 start at about 20, 30,000. So
Anything
you're at,
Wow.
It's insane.
but it's crazy because they sell out like that. I mean, it's like a Mondo drop almost. You go on the site to try to get one and they're gone. Like they're
That's
just
crazy.
they're done. Yeah.
When you make a name for yourself, man,
Yeah.
so many things
Yeah.
you can do.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's true.
I'm very interested in the C-3PO. I just hope I don't get priced out. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. I mean, I think the collaboration with Sideshow really does make it interesting, right? Not to be repetitive, but I think the edition size will be higher than normal, and I think it'll be a little bit more affordable. And I think they might probably, I don't want to say this, like cheapen out on the materials a little bit to make it a little bit
That's
more
what I'm
accessible.
curious. Like, do they usually do it in stone? Like, is the whole white part stone, or is it just the crystal usually?
So it's usually a mixture of like the gypsum salt, which is the white compressed stone, with the hydrocal or the quartz crystal. So I mean, like with
And
the
that's
regular
the whole
C-3PO,
thing. So it is a concrete-ish
it's
mixture.
it's a very solid piece
stone.
altogether. And then there'll be variations. Like if you get a 3PO and I get a 3PO, they won't be exactly the same because a lot of times, and that's another thing that makes this interesting. Is this going to be like an offset factory piece? Because when you get a regular future relic, like a camera or the boombox, for example, like they're being chipped away and broken at in an individual, like each one will vary as to
They're all
what part.
handmade. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the damage isn't cast into it. The damage is actually done.
Correct. The damage
Okay.
the damage isn't cast in. It's
Okay.
added after the fact.
That's cool.
So once they compress everything with the crystal and the quartz and the other elements, then they'll just break away at it. So this way, if you're like, I don't know, Sideshow.
This one maybe the damage is cast into it.
This one, I
Yeah.
think,
Oh,
is
for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious if they didn't use a polystone, because they can be polystone feels like stone, and that's how they get the price down. But
here's
I don't know. With his name, he can probably charge whatever he wants.
But here's the
So,
interesting
yeah.
thing, right?
Go ahead.
So for this going into a sort of market or a demographic of collectors that aren't familiar with his work, they can kind of play with that where the damage is cast in, like maybe the materials aren't as sort of natural or high end as they're usually used to working with, and the edition size can be larger because most people aren't going to know what to compare it to. But then again, for those who do collect the work and are familiar with it and see this and say, oh, here's my chance to add a Star Wars piece from a future relic into my I wonder if that's going to create this sort of like, okay, well, this isn't what I expected because I'm used to all the future relics following suit. That's kind of how he made his name, by having that sort of control and quality over how he releases his pieces. So whenever Sideshow gets involved in something, I'm not going to be quick to shut it down. I definitely take interest in it because I mean, I don't know, it can go either way. It really can. But I definitely have my eye on this. It's something that I'm strongly interested in.